Forest sitting 17th in the Premier League table on the back of the glorious Europa League qualification. Well, they actually qualified for the Conference League, but got through to the Europa League through the back door with a legal dispute with Crystal Palace. And ever since that, it's just gone literally on a downward spiral for Nottingham Forest. Sacked Nuno a few games into the season, hired Ange, sacked him 5 games later, hired Sean Dyche. He's seen an uptick in form from Nottingham Forest since Sean Dyche has come in, but I feel like that form is kind of reverting a little bit now, and they have lost 2 out of the last 3. The last one, a 3-0 thumping at Everton. What do you make out of Forest so far this season?
It's been a massive mess. I look at their team and I look at their squad, and they do have a lot of quality in there. They actually have quite a lot of options as well, like in a lot of positions. They do have quite a deep squad. I think similar to Spurs, they have quite a few holes, and I think fullback is definitely one of them. At the moment, they're playing people like Savona, who's a natural centre-back. He's been playing at right-back recently, and I think there are definitely some holes. But I look at their midfield options: Douglas Luiz, Elliot Anderson, Morgan Gibbs-White. Great options. I look at the front line. They've got Igor Jesus, who's doing all right. They've got Callum Wendo as an option. Wood's obviously injured, but they've got Hudson-Odoi. They've got Dan Ndoye, who's a new signing. Amari Hutchinson. They've got some like a lot of decent players. They do have like a lot of decent options there. So I like the makeup of their squad, but I think it's been a lot of change. I think they've been wildly changing from style of plays, which doesn't help, especially when you're going from one way to the other and then going back to the other way again. That's obviously going to leave a lot of confusion. I think they've probably downgraded in their managers from Nuno to Dyche in that sense as well. So I think the whole thing is a massive mess. I think it's stabilising a bit at the moment under Sean Dyche, but under Dyche, the way he plays, you are going to get performances where you're just very passive and don't really get to grips with the game like they did against Everton, where I think if you don't have a philosophy where you're looking to get at teams, sometimes you can get into this passive kind of state of mind, and it's all about just stopping the opposition and blocking things. And if you don't have a way of attacking that's imprinted in the team, games can get away from you. And that's what I think we've seen a lot from Forest in recent weeks anyway. But they do look a lot more stable, I have to say. They obviously got a very good win at Anfield, which regardless of I don't know how impressive that is at the moment, but they did win 3-0. And they are tough to break down, they're tough to play against, and they do have quality. So if they do catch you out on a counter, they do definitely have quality to hurt you. I think Gibbs-White is definitely the best at that. But I think, for me, I think at the moment, Elliot Anderson is like carrying them, to be honest. I think there's a lot of chaos, but Anderson is like calm within the chaos. He's just kept up his standards the whole way through. I thought he was brilliant under Nuno. I thought he was brilliant under Ange, and I think he's been brilliant under Dyche. I think he's been fantastic.
He's so hard to handle, man. What a player. He can do it all, Elliot Anderson, and it won't be too long until he's at a big club, top 6 club in the Premier League. I look at like Man City, and I think he'll fit really nicely into that midfield there. Liverpool, literally anyone. I think he could play for anyone. That's how good I think he is.
Yeah.
And when he plays for England, he's like one of the best players on the park as well. So, I mean, that just shows to see the quality of the player. And, I mean, Eddie Howe and Newcastle must be just kicking their teeth for how they sold him, because, like, I know they've got a very strong midfield. Can you imagine with Elliot Anderson there as well? They would have, like, literally one of the best in the Premier League.
Yeah, a lot of people, though, turn their nose up. They think Forest signed him for 40 million. Everyone's like, really? 40 million for Elliot Anderson? Everyone thought it was like a PSR kind of
well, it was. It was, though. That's the thing.
But it just
Newcastle didn't want to sell him. Newcastle had to sell him because of PSR, and he was 100% profit. And they must be absolutely gutted. They must be.
And because he's just a phenomenon, and it's mad his rise as well. Because I know he had a good season last season, but he's even taken it on much more this season. Even though Forest have been worse, I feel like he's been a lot better than he was even last season. And I don't know, did last season he get any call-ups? But like, I feel like his rise has been like so quick and like such a upward trajectory in such a quick space of time. He's such an exciting player, and anyone who gets him is going to be lucky. I feel like I just get the feeling with him is the feeling I get when Rice was at West Ham. You can just see he's ready for that next step already, and he's kept up those consistent standards, and he's phenomenal. He just brings so much energy and quality on the ball. The way he plays on the half turn, he's not a player who just plays sideways. He's very comfortable turning on the ball, playing forward. He's got a good shot on him as well, and he's obviously really good in the tackle. He puts himself about. And I think when he was, I know Ange was only there for a short space of time, but I thought under Ange he really developed into this high volume passer who was willing to take lots of the ball on a high number of occasions and get the ball ticking over. And I think that could be his future potentially in kind of like a Rodri kind of role.
What, 6?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I do think he does his best kind of work doing that kind of like box-to-box role, because he's so good in defence and he's so good, driving at defences as well. I think he can do it all. 6, 8, whatever you want. Like he's a fantastic player. Maybe someone that hasn't kept up his standards all season is Morgan Gibbs-White. Like I feel like he's had a few goals here and there, but I don't think from a general output in terms of performance. He hasn't really consistently been playing well, has he? And, we had that whole thing with Spurs in the summer where we got the here we go from Fabrizio and Marinakis and everything. Yeah, everyone knows what happened. And do you think it's a case of heads turned, or like what's the case with Morgan Gibbs-White?
I think so. I think he agreed to move to Tottenham, and he had it taken away from him. And I know he ended up signing that contract for whatever reason, and he's still there. I think his form has been improving lately. So maybe it was just a funk from the summer, and I think he started the season really badly. And obviously Forest themselves were in terrible kind of chaos with different managers and whatnot. And I do think he's starting to get over that a bit, and I think his form has been a bit better recently. But definitely during the season, I think there was a big hangover from the summer where he thought he was making that next move. He was making that step in his career. He was that big move to London, to Tottenham, to a big 6 club, and he had that taken away from him. So I think for most players in that position, it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to. It can happen. We saw with Kane when he had that. He never was close to it, but he tried to move to Man City, and then for about a couple of months, maybe even more, he was in out of form, and he just didn't look himself for a while until Conte came in and shaked him up a bit and got him playing again.
You're seeing it with like Baleba at Brighton.
Baleba as well, so it's happening. It's not an uncommon occurrence, put it that way. And I think definitely it's happened with Gibbs-White, but I think he is getting over it.
They did rest a lot of players, didn't they? Nottingham Forest on last night in the Europa League. I think they just about got over the line against Utrecht. The last-minute goal from Igor Jesus. How much of an impact do you think that's going to have coming into the game this weekend?
The fact they rested players, big impact, because it means a lot of their players are fresh. I know the main players, Anderson, Gibbs-White, were rested. So it's going to mean that they're probably not going to be as impacted from fatigue playing Thursday, Sunday as they would have been. Obviously, we play midweek, but we have a couple of extra days. And we're probably going to play a very similar team to what we played again on Tuesday. They're probably going to make a wholesale changes. So they could be fresher. But we have good momentum as well at the moment, and that could be even more powerful than just keep staying fresh. There's obviously a balance, but they lost heavily their last league game, and they could be playing a very similar team to that. So I think momentum should carry us through. And also, Tuesday to Sunday, it's enough of a break to not have to blame fatigue regardless.
Absolutely.
So I think it shouldn't make too much of a difference overall, but I think I wouldn't say it's advantage Forest because of it or anything like that, but it just means they should have a lot of their better players fresher than they would have been.
It's going to be interesting to see how Spurs kind of approach this game, because it's kind of like away from home so far, we've kind of like the tried and tested method of being defensively solid, kind of falling back on set pieces a bit, not creating too many chances, where you've seen, obviously in the last home game against Brentford, we flipped that up and went front-footed and high pressing and high line and all that kind of stuff. And Thomas Frank was commended for it and praised for it. And we got the result off the back of it, a 2-0 win where it could have been a lot more. We created so many chances that day. I do feel we're going to revert back to what we've been doing away from home all season, and just like be a bit more patient in this game. Do you agree?
Probably. I think it would be a mistake because I remember I'm just looking back at it, that they had a game, similar circumstances. They were at home to Brighton, and Brighton just went full pelt with them, and they were opening them up, and Forest were in this state similar to the Everton game where they were just being too passive. They weren't being proactive against Brighton, making all these runs in behind, inverted, all these different things. And even though Forest had a strong team out there on the day, they found it very hard to deal with that Brighton team. And they were just, even though...
When was that?
A couple of weeks ago, they lost at home to Brighton.
Oh, right, yeah, 2-0.
They lost 2-0. And Brighton were opening them up. And I was so surprised because, Forest are this, known as a team under Dyche, going to be pragmatic, it'd be hard to break down. But Brighton had no trouble doing it. And I think Decipher, opened the scoring. He's like a defender who can play. He's like a fullback who can play inverted, all this kind of stuff. And he opened the scoring. And they were just finding so much joy. So I think that's the mode we have to go into this game, the mindset, like we have been in the last couple games, of going at them, pressing them high, not being scared about what they're going to do, making them think about what we're going to do, because I think we'll be too hard to deal with, in my opinion, if we do that. But I'm fearful that we're going to go into this game how we have done it in most away games, which is, make sure things are solid, make sure you're not giving away too many chances, then rely on a few transitions, some set pieces, rely on some maybe individual quality to try and break them down. And not press them too high, not give them too much space, that kind of thing. I really hope we don't, to be honest. Even though it has worked for us away from home so far, I think we need to keep on what's been working in the last couple of games, in my opinion.
Yeah, look, I don't disagree with that, but I think, there could be a few different avenues to 3 points this weekend. I think both kind of mentalities, both setups and could probably work, but I think what you're saying is probably the more likely and obviously more pleasing on the eye and what the fans want to see more. So look, as long as we get 3 points, ultimately it doesn't really matter, but it would be nice to see us go with the same mentality as we had against Brentford, just wave after wave, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm, definitely. I think the big worry though in this game is that midfield battle, because obviously, as we waxing lyrical about Anderson, obviously Gibbs-White, I wouldn't be surprised if he's got I don't know if you call it a point to prove or whatever. It's just written for him to have an amazing game, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's you can write the articles already that Gibbs-White's going to pull out all the stops for this game, and they have other midfielders in there like Sangare or Dominguez who are quite physical. So I think that midfield battle is going to be absolutely key. Is Xavi going to be able to get any joy out of Anderson and whoever they play in next to him? It's going to be a difficult game for him. I think this is obviously his biggest test yet, or obviously he's played difficult games, but lately he's been getting better against the likes of Brentford, who have good midfielders, and the likes of Slavia, who we know we should be beating. But then now he's going to be playing against one of the inform and best centre mids in the league now. So can he compete in that kind of phase? I'm actually not so worried about Kudus. I think Kudus, whether it's Zinchenko or Nico Williams, I reckon he gets the better of him. Because I don't think either of them are the best defensively. I think they do their best work, both of them kind of on the ball. So I think Kudus should be a really good avenue down that right-hand side. I guess depends who we play on the left. But if they're going to play Savona on the left, I think that's also an avenue if you could get in behind, get that pace. That's the avenue you should be able to attack. I'm a bit worried about whoever plays up front against Murillo or Milenkovic. I think Moani probably has a better shot at it, but those two are very strong in the air. And Murillo's kind of like Romero, where he's very proactive. Doesn't wait for you. He goes and is very strong. So
it's a big positive for them, Murillo being back, because Morato is like half the player of what Murillo is. Right?
Murillo's big.
Top player, Murillo, and I think he's going to get a big move soon, I think.
And one thing that's interesting is even since Dyche has come back, they have been struggling from set pieces. They've struggled, obviously, horrendously under Ange, and they've still struggled. They conceded another one on Thursday in the Europa League. So that's maybe, obviously, we haven't really been as threatening as we were at the beginning of the season, but that's obviously an avenue we've got to look at and think, can we get some joy there?
Yeah, I think it's definitely somewhere we can get joy. But my biggest worry is Elliot Anderson and Morgan Gibbs-White in that kind of area, just on the edge of the box where we've been conceding a lot of goals, because we know they've both got very good shots on them, and we've got a knack of giving these kind of players just space on the edge of our area and letting them have those shots from range. And we can't give those players shots from range because they'll just put it in the top corner. That's my biggest worry going into this game.
Yeah, make sure we close down the space, make sure we're just not all crowded in the penalty area, because that has definitely been costing us for sure. So I think even against Slavia we were giving away long shots. Like it's happening in every game. But I guess if you're frank, you would argue long shots are better than shots in the penalty box. So I can understand that way of thinking. But as you say, Anderson and Gibbs-White, good players, and we can't afford to let the same problem that's happened in recent weeks happen again.
Yeah, in terms of that kind of front three that they played last game was Igor Jesus and Doy and Hutchinson. I mean, it's something that our defence should be able to handle, surely. Like, they're okay, they're nothing special, these guys.
Yeah, out wide, I think we should be safe, especially down Spence's side. I think that they've played Hutchinson there, they've played Ndoye there on the right. I'm not too worried about that side, to be honest. I would be a bit worried if they do play Hudson-Odoi up against Porro, because I do think Hudson-Odoi is quite a good one-on-one dribbler. So I'm a bit concerned there if they get to isolate him, because Hudson-Odoi fancy his chances of being able to cut inside and create something.
He doesn't seem to fancy Hudson-Odoi. He's only playing in the Europa League games under Deitch in terms of starting games.
So I think that'd be good for us, because I think if it's Ndoye is actually quite a straight line runner, and I think Porro can deal with those a lot better. I think when players are a bit more flexible and a bit more dribbly, I think that's when you can get unstuck a bit.
I thought Ndoye was a dribbly winger.
He dribbles, but he's not like flexible in that way. He's a bit like Brennan, how Brennan dribbles. That's how I see Ndoye.
I thought he wasn't. I thought he was one of these guys that is much better than Brennan in terms of being able to take it past the man. Like, he draws a lot of fouls and
fast.
stuff.
He's quick.
Because that's not what he was in Italy. Like, in Italy, he was very roaming and a very dribbly winger that could take it past you, not just a straight line.
I would say that in terms of how he dribbles, how he moves his body, how he moves his feet to kind of bamboozle defenders, all that kind of stuff. That's not really how he dribbles. From what I've seen, Hudson-Odoi, Bakwa as well. I was clouding Wolfie about Bakwa, but he's actually quite a good dribbler. Those players, and also Murray Hutchinson, they're a lot more flexible. I think Ndoye is much more of like a straight line runner from what I've seen. He kind of even if he cuts inside or goes down the left, but he is good at it because he's quick and he can get past you. But I would be much more comfortable with Ndoye there than I would be Hudson-Odoi. But not to say he can't get joy out of Porro. But
yeah, he had a really good start to life at Forest, didn't he, Ndoye? And then it kind of just petered out after a few games in terms of goal contributions.
Yeah, I've liked what I've seen. He's a threat, but you can see his successful take-ons not particularly good. It's not like he doesn't really take on what he's good at. A bit like Brennan, he's not good at taking you on, but he's good at getting a yard and then getting.
What was
that
he like
in.
at Italy? In Italy, because he played for that Bologna team, right?
Yep. Take-ons. Yeah, he's better in Italy than he has been this season. He struggled more this season.
I guess that's just getting used to the league and stepping up the leagues. I guess that's what it is. But look, I think we've got more than enough in our locker to go to Forest and get the win. I think it'll be really disappointing if we don't win this weekend. That's the reality, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it all, as you said, I think comes down to that midfield battle. I think if we can make sure we're either equal, or winning that battle, I think we go a long way to winning the game, because I do think in the forward areas we do have the advantage. I think we got more quality than them. I think when I look at this, the defences, I think centre backs, I know ours is good, but theirs is also very good, so there's not too much advantage there. But I look at the forward line. I think if we win that midfield battle, I think if we go toe to toe with our forward line, I think we should come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, look, in terms of man for man, who would actually get into our team from this Forest team apart from Elliot Anderson? Probably Elliot Anderson, Morgan Gibbs-White. Those are the two players. That's the only two players I'm really fearful of.
Obviously, last season, Milenkovic and Murillo were brilliant.
Yeah.
I wouldn't pick them over Romero.
But even last season, you wouldn't have.
I wouldn't have. If you're a Forest fan, they would, though. But I wouldn't, obviously. Yeah, I think wingers, maybe a left winger, maybe just Hudson-Odoi get in, you could argue, but he hasn't had a great season.
I mean, he can't even get into their team, so.
Up front, would you say Chris Wood? But I would prefer Morani personally.
Chris Wood. Is there any conversation to have about Chris Wood against Kolo Muani?
Forest fans would say yes.
Nah, even Forest, even
Look, to be
a lot
fair,
of Forest
last season
fans.
20 goals, season 4 14 goals.
Yeah, I know that.
So-
I know that, but still, like, I think if you ask the general population of football fans, I think like literally 8 out of 10 people will say Muani.
I don't know if that's true because Moani has to prove it.
Yes, he
I
does.
agree. We watch him every game and we can see what he
But
offers. But
Moani's
if you're a general
also-
football fan who don't watch his Tottenham as
But Muani
analytical
gets
as us.
consistently called up to the French squad.
Yeah.
He started for Juventus last season. Like, Chris Wood's nowhere near the England squad. And
Well, he's not English, he's New Zealand.
Oh, that's true, actually. I didn't even know his nationality. But even if he was, he'd be nowhere near the England squad. And look, he serves a purpose in a certain system, but nah, no way I think anyone can argue, say Muani is worse than... as a general footballer, like, no.
Until Moani gets a similar level of goals of what Chris Wood has shown, then a lot of people will say Chris Wood is better.
Apart from Wolfie, I don't think anyone's saying Chris Wood's better than Muani.
And I like Moani more. Don't get me wrong. We watch him, so I know what he offers. But Chris Wood has been scoring goals for 2 seasons now, so you got to respect that. And until Moani hasn't even got a Premier League goal yet, so until he starts scoring, a lot of fans will say, "I would prefer Chris Wood."
I disagree. But look, that is the match preview. We're both going for Spurs wins this weekend.
Is it a chance to climb the table this weekend? Who else is playing? So if we win, we could go Liverpool and Chelsea, but Chelsea playing Everton, likely to win. Liverpool-Brighton, so chance to go above one of those. Palace City, chance to close the gap on one of those as well. Hopefully Palace. So, and obviously United-Bournemouth, or Bournemouth are below us. So look, if we do win this weekend, I guess every weekend's always a chance to close the gap, but if we can get to close that top 4, getting close to the new year, all of a sudden really put ourselves in that race.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think a win is very important for that.
It's extremely important, especially as we've got Liverpool coming up next after this. What a big game that is. If we win this weekend, that Liverpool game is, well, either way, if we win, lose or draw this weekend, that Liverpool game's big. But if we can win and Liverpool drop points, you can put a bit of light between us, which is crazy to think about. But
we've got 2 very difficult games after Liverpool and then Palace away. So this is crucial. We get 3 points here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is going to be the last game for Pape before he goes off to the AFCON.
Good point. Oh, good point. Didn't consider that when looking at the start 11.
Yeah. But look, I still think Pape will be on the bench. I don't think he's playing well enough to demand a starting spot, especially with Bentancur in the last Premier League game was brilliant. Archie Gray's on really good form.
Also, another element of it is players sometimes when they're just before the AFCON, does it play on their mind? I don't want to get injured
and all that. Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, the outlook of the Premier League in terms of we're all counting who's got the most African players in their team, who's going to lose the most. And I think Manchester United are definitely the biggest losers there.
Definitely.
But, yeah, look, we'll see what happens on the weekend. I am very hopeful. I'm going up to the City Ground on Sunday with Mr. Brian Daigle and Sim.
I thought you were going to say Mr. Box Office. All right.
And Sim is Brian Daigle is Mr. Box Office. And Sim is going to be in the studio with Mr. Stelios.
Come on.
So, yeah, tune in for that. Just before 2 o'clock, 1:45, they'll be going live. And that is it from us today. We'll see you all on Sunday. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.